Today's adventure begins as the recording of this Sunday, July 16th, 2023. This road about 100 miles outside of Kansas City, Missouri. The water tower for Marceline, off in the distance. The hometown of Walt Disney, a place that even he stated had such an impact on his life. What he would create later, as far as animation, theme parks, movies, and his life. A pivotal point of his youth. Starting to rain. Welcome everyone. Adam the Woo here. I love this place. I love the history of it. It's been about 3 years since I've been to this spot. Early 2020, the first month or two of 2020, I rolled through here. Gonna see some stuff I am familiar with. There's also a few things I have not shown in the past. I can hear a train. This is a train town. The town was built because back in the day, trains had to have stops where people could get off and eat and stretch their legs, and also, you know, within a distance to re-steam and put water in the trains within 100 miles of the last depot. And with Kansas City about 100 miles away, Marceline was one of those spots. So, kind of fun fact. I'm inviting you to join me, and I guess I'm wearing an appropriate shirt. Celebration, Florida, a little Disney tie-in, and Marceline, Missouri. Little Disney tie-in. Just a little, right? Join me. Bad weather rolling in, as always. Shall you? Well, in this area anyway. Now, before the weather gets too bad, I'm gonna drive past the Disney farm where him and his family lived for a few years. Formidable years of Walt. Now, the farmhouse, from what I was reading, only has 1 or 2 original walls. But so much history right there. In fact, you just pull over right here. Get out and take a look at this. I recall when I was here before, I don't believe there was signage like this around the area. I went with our family to live in Marceline when I was around 4 years old. Clearly remember the day we arrived there on a train. Gotta go by that train station. And Mr. Coffin met us in his wagon and we rode to our house in the country just outside the city limits. I believe it was called the Crane Farm. My first impression is it had a beautiful front yard. Disney home in 1906 still comprises the largest section of the current layout. An addition was added in the 1980s to accommodate the need of the current owner. Great care was taken not at the original layout, and hand-hewn features of the 1906 section of the home. And you could just picture him, his parents, Roy, family, his sister, and others all here on this property. And I would like to go down here. There's a little parking area, and that is where the dreaming tree is. Well, I'll talk about that in a second a little bit more. The seedling of the dreaming tree, original dreaming tree, got struck by lightning and fell down, kind of rotted away. But they took seedlings of that, and a new dreaming tree has popped up. And also, Walt's barn is down there. We're trying to get in the barn before the storm pops in. Open 365 days a year, dawn till dusk, free to the public. Maintained by volunteers of the Disney Hometown Museum. Now, this is going to be a recreation of the barn that Walt remembered that used to be on the property. A lot of things happened to him at this barn. In fact, he loved the barn so much that he created his own recreation, the Carolwood Barn, which is in Griffith Park in Southern California, in LA. To tell the truth, let me quote this, to tell the truth, more things of importance happened to me in Marceline than have happened to me since or likely to in the future. That's what adult Walt quoted later. And in fact, he not only lived here when he was young, he came back multiple times to Marceline. He even took time out of his very busy schedule after Disneyland had opened, and you know, just the company was progressing and creating new endeavors. He took time out of that to come back to events here to show his appreciation for the town he grew up in. About 10 or 11 years ago, the original Dreaming Tree used to be right over here next to this creek where Walt would sit with his sister and would doodle, you know, different artwork and come up with animation ideas and cartoons and things like that. He started to put into his brain creativity in front of the Dreaming Tree. And when he came back to town later as an adult, he took photos there with Roy. I'll show those in a minute. But the son of Dreaming Tree was planted on September '04. A sapling was planted by Walt's grandson, Bradford Disney Lund, and soil from the Magic Kingdom and water from the rivers of America were mixed with the soil. So I don't know if this means Walt's original Magic Kingdom in Anaheim or the rivers of America in Florida. I'm taking this to maybe be one of each, or maybe it's possibly Florida's Magic Kingdom and Florida's rivers. Either way, Disney theme park items were placed here where the seedling was, and this thing is really growing tall. It's really good to see that. And probably the first time I ever visited this area was 10, 12 years ago, and the original Dreaming Tree was still here. Sadly, it has gone by the wayside. But there is a photo. Look at this. Look, this, how freaking awesome is this? Freaking Roy. It's Walt right here. I mean, that is just so cool. Right along the creek. You see the creek is still kind of over there, even though it's relatively dried up at the moment. It is very rainy and a lot of bad weather's been kind of going through this area, but definitely no water where the creek was. The original Dreaming Tree. In fact, the Dreaming Tree is so etched in my mind that I sometimes call the Wisdom Tree top of Griffith Park in SoCal. I get it mixed up and I say, oh, I'm going to hike up to the Dreaming Tree. People go, no, it's the Wisdom Tree. Because I'm always thinking, for one reason, I'm always thinking of the Dreaming Tree here in Marceline. They have all these. Okay, this is a cool story. So the first time, again, this is a recreation, but the original barn that was here, the first time Walt ever charged anything for entertainment was when he did a circus with some of the farm animals that were here. And there's also an interesting story that his local friends, the kids, were not too happy with how the barnyard animals were performing, and they wanted their money back. And Walt says, I'm going to give you your money back. You know, I worked hard on creating this just because it didn't perform correctly. And Walt's mom, as the story goes, Walt's mom said, you have to give them their money back. If people are not getting what you promised them, and they're not getting the excellence of the show that you think you're going to give them, they should not be charged. And that is like a moral that Walt kind of kept in his theme parks. And still to this day, you know, it's slacked a little bit, but, you know, Walt definitely always had that. And I think it went farther in his career, just a lesson that started at the barn with, you know, if you're providing entertainment and you're charging for entertainment, it should be top quality if people are like opening up their wallets and emptying their pockets for it. Kind of a good moral that started here in Marceline. One thing that's really cool about this, actually, a couple people just were in here as well. So they invite anyone to come in and sign the walls. Now, I've signed these walls a couple times. Also at D23 events, which I think they just had a D23 event here a couple months ago that I wasn't able to attend because I had other plans going on. But some of these benches, I don't know if it was this bench or maybe it's at the museum, but they had people at the D23 sign some of the benches, and they moved the benches over to here. Now, finding my signature through here would be probably very tough. Let's see if I can possibly find one of mine. But people, thousands upon thousands of people have signed these walls. Little scribbles of Mickey there. Inside the barn. All right, I found the biggest one of mine. I think I signed it twice, but the other one I think might be covered up. But mine is right here. So take a look at this. Right there. Wrote my name right there years ago. Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago at a D23 in Anaheim, they had one of these benches. This could be the one that they transported, giving people the opportunity to have their signatures placed in the barn when they couldn't make it all the way to Missouri. And I'm just assuming that is what either this one is or this one is right over here. And I'm not going to leave another signature. There are some Sharpies over there. But I got one over there, and I believe there's one above the door frame next to a couple other people that I know. But it might have been covered up. I put that up there many years ago too, but I've already left my mark here. But I always want to show this. And anyone can come in here, grab a marker, and sign their name. Yeah, I seem to recall a while back that up here next to Justin Scard's name, I left one scribbled on there. But a lot of other people have put their name over it, so possibly mine has been recovered up. But the original one, the first time I ever visited, is over here in the corner. Where is it? Right there. Just so dang cool. I love that barn, but there's so much more to see in the area. And people just all day, come out here, go inside, leave their remarks, leave their comments, write their name, where they're from, etch it on the wall. It's allowed. And about a mile away from the barn, I give you the inspiration, the real Main Street, USA. Not at Disneyland, not at Magic Kingdom, not in the theme parks. The real deal, right here in Marceline, Missouri. And just to clarify, the ideas of this stretch of road from his youth went on to become Main Street, USA. Not everything is exact. Whoop, I got some water on my lens. But there are little nuances, and you feel like you're on Main Street, because it is a Main Street. E.P. Ripley Park. Sound familiar? If you're a Disney nerd like me, you certainly does. Walt loved trains. You got the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad emblem over there on the side. The train station is over there. Now it is Sunday, as stated as the recording of this, so the post office is not open. When I stayed here 3 years ago, I sent myself a letter from the post office, and they will put the little stamp on there designating it that it's coming from Walt's hometown. I don't make a bad pun, but this place rocks. Coke Corner. The real Coke Corner, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Where Coke Corner began. The Zurcher store. Disneyland in Anaheim has a Coke Corner based on this. I mean, over here at Disneyland, it has the one that has the light that has two different colors. The center light. That's Coke Corner. The town was established in 1888 as by that banner, but look, they have the Main Street USA sign. So for this section of Kansas Ave, they have designated it Main Street USA. Always good to be back here. Such a quaint little community. Nice place to be. Pastime. It's like this place is closed. I often wonder what it would take to rent one of these. What would it be like to own a store on Main Street USA? And at any time, You could be walking right down the middle of Main Street, USA, just like the song. Oh, I almost tripped back there on that curb. Almost tripped right down the middle of Main Street, USA. The castle, in my mind, would be up at the other end down there, and it's set up just like, you know, in the parks, where you get one block and then a turn in, a turn to the left, turn to the right, and then another block up, and then the castle would be right there. Got the Maytag repairman. There's a lot of great photos of Walt when he returned here. There's one here right in the middle of the road. So the Uptown Theater, which I believe is not open, kind of like the Celebration Theater is not open, but Walt and Roy, when they returned here to a movie premiere that they saw inside here, and Walt spoke on the stage inside the Uptown Theater. Great Locomotive Race, I believe the name of the film was. Walt had a lot of history here. He saw the very first movie he ever saw, very young, happened in Marceline, and the very first play he ever saw. So there's the photo here. There's the Uptown Theater right there. So that's basically, they're standing right there. You got the Spirit of Mickey on June 30th, 1930. Open on June 30th, 1930. So the first movie he ever saw was not in this theater, but the first movie he ever saw was in town a little earlier than that. But in '56, they came back and premiered the feature film, The Great Locomotive Chase, and greeted every child at the door. Walt and Roy took the stage before the movie and sang the Mickey Mouse song. And in 1998, the Disney company came back for another premiere and premiered The Spirit of Mickey in that theater. There it is, Great Locomotive Chase. And there's Walt right there up on the stage itself. I got to go in there when I stayed here in 2020. I actually got to go inside there. Man, they have really added so much. So the first play he ever saw was Peter Pan when he was very young, and he loved seeing Peter Pan so much, that play, that when he was young in school, he played the part of Peter Pan, and we all know how Peter Pan worked out because he made Peter Pan later for Disney.
Held the Midwest premiere of their feature film, The Great Locomotive.
Yeah, I actually got to go inside here, which is pretty nice. And I saw some photos of the event they had here a couple months ago, and I saw people were in there. You can see a Great Locomotive Race sign up there on the wall. I really hope this gets renovated. It's kind of like, well, I don't want to compare it to Laugh-O-Gram, but I hope Laugh-O-Gram gets restored, and I hope this gets restored. Marceline that name has been used a lot of times. You'll see it, just little nods to it in the parks, on the properties. Here's a nice little mural over here. Main Street USA mural. I don't know what it is. I just get so happy whenever I'm here. There's the quote. All right, there's the barn. There's the house. Oh, there's the barn and the house, the farm that he lived on, the 40. There's the tree. There's him. Oh man, there's young him right there with a little Mickey. Obviously, Mickey didn't exist then yet, but he would have the drawings of the animals. It's also kind of just such a cool thing that him growing up here and not growing up in Kansas City or Chicago. He was born in Chicago a few years prior, 5 years before they moved here, 5 or 6 years, don't quote me on the exact yearage, but his dad wanted to move here because he did not want his family and his kids growing up in Chicago. Thought this would be a better place for his family to be reared. But if he would have grown up in Chicago, the big city, or Kansas City, where they moved after this for the formidable years, I don't know if things would have turned out the same for Walt. Train going by. Train going by. Oh, the soothing sounds of a train. Because you think about it, all those early animations and all those early cartoons that ended up making him very popular were based on barnyard animals, and most of the characters at Disney are barnyard animals that we know and love. They're all animals that would be in a small town and like a farm in a barn. I'm just picture standing at the castle, looking down that way. I guess you could go either direction, but I feel like I'm standing at the castle looking down towards the train station down there. Because the train station is down there, just one block over. Peeking back in the theater again. I'll show this again, and then I'll show what it looks like modern day. You see the theater there off to the left. Looks like the banner went right across here, and the building between the Uptown Theater and this building looks like it was demolished or probably burned down. It's just like an empty spot now. He came back a number of times in his adult life. One was for the theater, great locomotive chase. He also came back for the opening of a city pool that was named in his honor, and also the school. So I think 3 times, if I remember reading correctly, 2 times. It's not Snow White or Cinderella wishing well, but there is a wishing well. Placed here back in 2002. Oh wait, no. Oh, 1987, 2002. One of those years. Little gazebo over there. Well, actually the gazebo, oh! They got rid of the gazebo. Look, you can even see where the line of the gazebo used to be. It's been erased from existence. I can hear it. I love the soothing sounds of the train. This is really nice. This little pond they built right here. And the original Midget Autopia used to be on the outskirts of town. Well, the original one used to be at Disneyland, where Small World is now. There's a smaller version of the Autopia that still exists there. And they supposedly are going to be bringing it back here. Now, Walt came back, so over by where the pool is in the Municipal Park, which I want to show that, which I think is on the outskirts of town, was where this originally was, and then it fell into disrepair. So Walt and Roy wanted to bring a project here, almost like a theme park, to this town. But when Walt got ill and passed away, that got scrapped, and the Florida project, now known as WDW, took over. That completely got scrapped, so it never came back. But their version of Autopia, hopefully one day, will make their appearance back here. Relocated from the Magic Kingdom of Disneyland. And a lot of people give me crud sometimes because I call it Walt's original Magic Kingdom. I'm like, no, that's in Florida. Look at this. Magic Kingdom of Disneyland. And Walt, many times, even when you're riding the train, it'll say, "Welcome to Walt's Magic Kingdom." I'll use a spiel on that. Marceline's favorite sons, Walt and Roy Disney. Accepted in appreciation, Mayor C.A. Young, July 1966. They retired in 1966, making way for a new attraction, It's a Small World. Fresh off its year-long run at the 1964 New York World's Fair, which a few months ago, I was able to go to the spot where the World's Fair happened and see where Small World was, which now took over and retired Midget Autopia at Disneyland, and then the cars came here And here it is. I'm gonna go try to find where that original spot was. Circa 1968, only lasted a couple years. There's the pool that Walt dedicated. As far as I know, there's no affiliation with the Disney Corporation and this museum, or anything that goes on here. I believe the last event was a D23 event, so I guess might be off on my thoughts on that. But as with Laugh-O-Gram, the history of Walt and all that, the company, as far as like the deep-rooted past of Walt, you know, the Uptown Theater, all that. I almost fell in that hole. I'm just like falling everywhere here today. They don't really chime in too much financially. Just like in the parks, you can get yourself a Coca-Cola. And just like on Main Street at Disneyland, at Disney World, there's a piano right here. This barbecue place, which just closed up. That's a piano. Nice touch. Nice touch. I've been in here before, but it's been a while. Highly recommend the Hometown Museum. The depot circa 1913. Why the town even exists as a railroad town is because of this building. Well, this building was built for that reason. And it really does seem appropriate, even though it's not used as a depot anymore, the trains just pass right through here, that it houses Walt's Hometown Museum. Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4, Sundays 1 to 5, and closed every Monday. Alright, I am in here. They asked no filming in the museum, but I could take plenty of photos, so I'll take some photos and talk about what I see afterwards. Alright, I'm standing back outside, and I'll show some of the things that were in there. They have some of these photos for sale, and this is, you know, Walt and Roy around Marceline. That's kind of in the gift shop. And this just shows him in school. I'm gonna see if I could find where the original school he went to. He showed up for the rededication, but he is right down towards the bottom there. There's a little, I think his name is like kind of written right there, of him at the bottom, sitting towards the bottom of the photo. And this is a signed pamphlet or a signed program from the Walt Disney Elementary School that he showed up for the dedication. You see his name is upside down there, but he signed the top of it. He had a really good signature. This is the desk. I'm gonna see if I can go by where the school was and find the desk that he scribbled his name on. You could see he put the WD. They actually have this at One Man's Dream, a recreation of One Man's Dream at Hollywood Studios. It's not the real one, the real one's here. There's both their brothers, Walt and Roy, next to that railroad that I showed earlier in the park, where it says Disneyland Railroad. So that was here even when they came back. And this is the Santa Fe station where the museum is. There's Marceline News. This is talking about an excerpt from the Marceline I Knew, written by Walt himself back in the late 30s. And here's a photo of Main Street, Kansas Ave back then, that moment. And then also coming back for a July 4th invitation there. Oh, this is him going and looking at the desk. So evidently he remembers signing the desk once, but it was signed another time. So there's a little bit of unclarification if Walt signed the desk, the WD twice, or if he did it just WD, and then the student who had the desk after him may have just emulated and signed it a second time. But this is kind of neat. When he came back, he brought one of the flags that hangs at Disneyland. It's like an orange Mickey flag. I think you can't purchase the flags anywhere but here at the Hometown Museum. And the only place you could see it is here and at Disneyland. But they have one of them here, and the flagpole at the new location in the 1960 when he came back to dedicate it. I'm going to go by and see if I can find that flagpole. He dedicated the flagpole also, but he brought two flags from the Anaheim Park, one there and this one, and you can purchase miniature versions of this in the gift shop as well. And there's him holding that very one that they have in the museum. This is kind of a fun fact. So where Coke Corner is now, the store that used to be there, or the store that's still there, this clock used to be in there, Santa Fe Standard Time, and that's the cash register. Now this is really awesome. So his sister Ruth did not want to attend and be around a lot of people for the opening of Disneyland in '55. So Walt sent her money to buy a television set so she could watch it, and they have her rug and the actual TV she watched the opening ceremony on in 1955 in there, and they actually play it on there in there. So not only do they have memorial services in LA and other areas, but they also had one here in Marceline. Here's a piece of the original Dreaming Tree. And just kind of showed some of the things that came later with the company, and then Walt had created based on his time here in this area. A lot of the farm, small town type things really resonated and showed up in a lot of his work over the years. Now the old school that was torn down, I'm going to go to the corner where the school used to be, but here is him saying, you know, this building's probably going to get torn down one day, you should save this wall. So they did. The wall is in the museum as well. And then here's more info on a theme park coming to Marceline. It was like a whole project, and then of course when he passed it didn't happen, but there's like a kind of a map, and this was on his desk. So when you go to the studios, you know, I was lucky enough years ago to go in Walt's office, and they kept it, they recreated it and put everything back, all his stuff, that when other people took over the studios, they put it all back in the exact place. And this was on his desk at his passing. Of course, that whole idea got scrapped. And then talking about the stamp that came out, and you could get here in Marceline, an actual stamp. That's what the stamp looks like right there. And this is kind of cool. This is inspiration from Main Street USA, and I kind of took each individual one. So Hotel Marceline, which is in that little kind of like halfway point down Main Street USA. The Allen Hotel was the real life Hotel Marceline. And then the Opera House was Cater's Opera House, where he would happily spend his spare penny in his pocket for change to attend a show. That is where he saw the stage performance of Peter Pan on that hollowed stage. I want to see if I can find where the Cater's or Catter's Opera House is. And then Murray's Department Store, inspiration for the Emporium. All this here in town. And of course I already showed the Uptown Theater and Zurcher's. There's just a kind of another photo there talking about the great locomotive chase. Here's him standing in front of the Uptown Theater. Here's another more info on the original school. This is interesting. This little building looks to have some relics of the past in it as well. There's a little counting machine there, a little adding machine. There's like a stogie, and a lighter, and an old book. This is right next to the museum. And, oh, it was the coal company. Okay, according to what I just read in there, where he originally went was the corner of North Chestnut and West Ritchie, which is going to be on that next corner. See if the building's still there. Another train horn going by. I mean, everything is within a couple blocks of each other. It's all downtown. All right, no, in fact, it was just a few steps from where I was thinking it was, right here where this gas station is now. 205 was the address, according to what I read on the interwebs. Even though, could have been here, but you type in 205 and it pops right there where that is. Okay, so evidently this was the Allen Hotel. Gets a little nod on Main Street as the Marceline Hotel. Try to figure out which one was the inspiration for the Emporium. But this was the Allen Hotel. I could definitely see it now with all the probably apartments up there now, or maybe just sitting empty, I don't know. Look at this great photo of the brothers there. Well, I guess that's Mr. Zurcher. Zurcher, when they returned, standing right in front of of the spot. And it looks like connected to that hotel right here was Murray's The Emporium. Inspiration for the Emporium. How much money have I spent in the Emporium? You don't want to know. And as the story goes, that is where he got his first pair of overalls. Mom bought him a pair of overalls inside that store. Right there. He was not going to be a city boy. Country boy. Never lose sight of one thing. That it was all started by a row of mice. I'm not a funny guy. I'm just a farm boy from Missouri who hides behind a mouse and a duck. There they are in front of the train station. Okay, this is a photo also from the hometown museum I found on the web of Cater's Opera House, where Walt saw his first production ever, live performance of Peter Pan. And best assumption is right here next to the Uptown Theater. They were connected, and saw an article that it was one of the worst fires ever to happen in town and almost burned all the downtown down. And saw something else that here on the corner of this road, Howell Ave, that there is some leftover bricks. If I had not seen that photo, I would have thought it would have been over there on that empty plot. Hello. But the photo has it on the other corner, so it wouldn't make sense. Okay, just talked to a couple locals, very friendly folk. And he was saying that this is the corner, which makes sense because it does line up, that photo being on the edge here. And he said they do a walking tour. There are little QR codes, and they helped write the walking tour. So there's a bunch of different spots. You just scan the QR code and you get the info. So right down here, let's see if some of the brick is here. All right, this might be that brick here. Look at this. Original Opera House brick. Could be. The foundation, perhaps, is still the same, and then they just rebuilt this on top of it. It's a chance. Fascinating. It also helps to read, Adam. It helps to read. Located at the site was Cater's Opera House. Wide variety of performances. Just got to take some time and read. Not be in a rush. See that kind of stuff. A radio station in town. There's a tunnel right here that goes directly under the tracks. Oh, wow. It's like someplace Pennywise would live. Goodness gracious, should I even be going down in here? Oh, what the heck? We all float down here. Tunnel was made in 1951. Should also be noted, when they sold the farm, the family farm, they still lived in town another year. And people think no one's really totally confirmed that it was this house here on Kansas Ave for about a year. Typing the address in, it would have been that one right about there. Just up the ways a bit, still on Kansas Ave, is that sign, the Municipal Park. You see Mickey there, and you see the train. This is where those Autopia cars were, and the pool. See if I can find the pool. I've never seen the pool spot. Now, since those days, the pool could have been redone, but this is the spot of the pool. In fact, you can see train tracks over there, and the light poles are all still kind of in the same spot. So you got the trains over there, even still some train cars off in the distance, and then the poles. But then this is the pool. It's been added onto, or maybe even completely renovated. It's the only pool I see here in town. Again, they were gonna have the pool in his name, and he said, I'm just gonna show up. So he came out, and 6,000 or 7,000 people showed up. As thousands of people showed up. The agricultural department right there has a greenhouse. And here is the Olympic flagpole. Very monumental in the front of the property. Classic looking building. And it's closed today, obviously no classes. Hear another train going by. And it's probably good that nothing's going on today, because just go up and get some clear photos here of the front. Where the magic of learning begins. Now, there are more of these around the country that bear his name, but the only one in his hometown. And this is also from reading at the info at the museum, where the memorial of his passing also took place in his hometown. Yeah, take a look at all that artwork on the walls. Classic. I was also reading that if you show up during normal operating hours, that they will let you go in and get photos. Of course, because it's the weekend right now. That is so cool with the train going by right there. But all you have to do is just sign in, and visitors can go in and see some of the classic artwork in there. Found another sign about the Allen Hotel, constructed in '06. Interesting too, this is just kind of like teetering here on the mailbox. Roy didn't remember what he had to eat, but did remember that his little sister Ruth spilled the plate of food his father had paid for in real cash. Hotel Marceline, found on Main Street, USA Disneyland, is a replica of this building. Yeah, there's just little information things everywhere. You just gotta look for them. Yeah, and take a look at this. You got Roy there, they're standing, and then you got these two windows. And I'm kind of looking at the little like rivets here under the HESF. It looks like it's been repainted. It looks to be the same train. That second window, if this is the same train, which I'm assuming it is, you got Roy there holding onto that, and the rivets here match up exactly. This was painted over, and then right here there was a split piece that was like in the middle, and then Walt was putting his head out of there. Wow. Originally they were going to make 120,000 stamps. Ended up being 153 million and 15,000. 153 million? Yeah, I guess that's what that number is. Main Street, USA. Driving right down the middle of Main Street, USA. And back down the other side. The original Main Street, USA. Till next time, Marceline. Till next time.